Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. I am Jim Renier. Alongside me is my partner in crime from West Virginia, Jeff Blue. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, buddy. Hey, that was pretty good. See, we taught you something when
Yeah,
you came
getting
here.
better. Yeah, I'm getting better. Every time you say West Virginia, you got to say it with passion. West Virginia. It's good. Unfortunately, Matt will not be with us today. He has some family duties to take care of. He's a father first, podcast second. We can make him a podcaster first, but I don't think his family will like that. No, see. Again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Another exciting week of the National Arena League completed. We had a unique game in lovely Shreveport, Louisiana. Defensive battle. And we had a surpriser in Columbus. We didn't expect what we did see. We have the ageless wonder known as ZB, Zack Brown, on the show to help break us. Not break us. That would be kind of easy because we're two unathletic guys and he's a linebacker, so it'll be an easy for us to break. But break down the game between Carolina Cobras and the Columbus Lions and his return to Carolina this weekend alone. Also for the National Arena League information, go to nationalarenaleague.com for all up-to-date information of the National Arena League. Social media at NAL Football. On TikTok. No, they're not TikTok. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, and of course, YouTube at National Arena League. Jeff, before we get ZB on the call, what's your opinion about this past weekend in the National Arena League?
Well, I mean, we had two games, which was crazy. But both games on two different days, so all eyes were on both games, and deservedly so. The performance that Columbus put on was unbelievable. I mean, that is to run 2 weeks in a row of games and have two shutouts. I mean, that's that's something else. Regardless of who they played, it doesn't matter. I mean, they played Carolina and shut them out too. So I mean, as a good defense down there. The Shreveport game, Shreveport walks away, gets their first win as a new franchise in the NAL. So good for them. Wheeling still trying to struggle in a little bit, still trying to find their way. JT Taylor looked really good, who stepped in for Grant Russell. Fred Hargrove also took some snaps. They were just trying to figure out an offense. Defense played excellent. And, the Rougarou found a way at the end to edge it out. So two really good games, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, for the people who are watching on social media, remember to follow us on NWalls Pod on all social media platforms. NWalls Pod. So let's look at those lovely National Arena League standings after week 3 of the NAL season. Columbus is all alone in first place in the American Division with a 1-0 record in division, and 2-0. Beaumont's still there at 1-0. Shreveport gets back in the mix. They are 1-0 in the division. They get back to 500. So interesting setup, a little competition there. We'll figure it out as we progress. But this week we have more action, especially on the national division side, as the whole entire division plays this week, as Idaho travels to Omaha and Colorado travels to Sioux City. So we'll get to see that action. Of course, we'll see the rematch between the Columbus Lions and the Carolina Cobras, but this time in Greensboro, North Carolina. So we got some good matchups, good games to look forward to. But one thing I have to say about this guest of ours, this man, every time I've talked to him, either it was with the organization I'm with here in my hometown or with this show from his early days, this individual has always been willing to come on the show to talk for his time here in Jacksonville, in Carolina, and now in Columbus. Uh, Basically, you can call him a third co-host because how many times he's been on the show. But no other further than due, the ageless wonder himself, Zack Brown from Tifton, Georgia, playing for the Columbus Lions. How you doing, ZB?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Jeff and Mr. Jim? How y'all doing today?
Good.
Doing good. First off, before we talk about the game itself, Coach, how are you liking coaching high school ball now?
Man, I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? Kids, they embrace me, and they a lot of kids that I coach in high school. I used to coach them when they were young. And they were saying about 7, 8 year old. I used to train with kids. So once I got the coaching job, it wasn't hard to adapt to it. I played at the high school that I coach at, so I love it though. I love it.
One thing I know is about this sport, a lot of the guys who played indoor arena style games, they also coach behind the scenes or they do something else, especially for the next generation of player. And as a person who was in high school, my coach, Coach Cox, played offensive guard or center for the Jacksonville Tomcats of the old AF2 years ago. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, looking up to, it's like I'm getting coached by a person who plays the game right now. I'm getting coached by a pro athlete. You are Columbus. Yeah, your cup of coffee down to the city down south. We don't speak of that here in Jacksonville. The cities that out. You played in Carolina, played in Jacksonville. Now you got your guys that you coach in high school looking up to you and go, I am coached by a professional football player. How cool is that?
It's very cool because what I try to do to the kids to get them the cheat code, I'm trying to teach them how to be a pro athlete in high school that nobody taught me how to do it. And I tell a lot of kids that you got to sacrifice a lot of stuff. You got to put the good stuff in your body, leave the bad stuff out your body if you want to play at the D1 level. And it be more about me preaching about grades. I told you, get your grades up. You can go into school you want to, because football can be taken away from you anytime if your grades not good. I don't care how good you are. If your grades ain't up to par, then you ain't going to go D1. You're going to have to go the JUCO route. And not saying that's a bad route, because a lot of JUCO players go there and they grow up to be a young adult in the JUCO world, and then they can transfer to D1 and then go on to their career if they make it to the NFL or not. But I love it, though.
JUCO is always a path. We see a lot of players go JUCO, and they go Mississippi's big with JUCO. I think Kansas is also big with JUCO. And then you hear their stories in the NFL. You go, wow, they actually played at was it Mississippi, East Mississippi Community College? That's down where was it Last Chance U was filmed?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, and there was a couple of players on that team that ended up playing in Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, that are currently in the NFL. So when people say they look down at JUCO, there's some ballers in JUCO. It's just that some of them had different paths there than others. Others is like their last chance to get back into the game. Others is their first opportunity for press somebody. But ZB, talking about opportunities, I think you get kind of hang of this. A shutout at home, 25-0, in front of your fans in Columbus. What type of game plan did you guys set up to just shut down Caroline's offense this past weekend?
Man, the game plan we put together is to go out here and dominate each phase of the game. Like, we ain't taking no plays off. We're going to dominate the first play of the game, the last play of the game to play for halftime, the play for the second quarter. That's our main goal, to dominate every play. And, like, if you really know, before the game started, they was on our midfield talking about this day how. So that really just sparked us to turn up another level, because we felt being disrespected since the season started. You know what I'm saying? We feel like nobody giving no respect, but that's the thing we want. We don't want y'all to give our respect. We're going to go take this respect. You know what I'm saying? We're going to earn it and everything. But the game plan we had, like I said, was just to dominate and go out here and just win by 1 point. But, we won by 25,
Well, that's still you've played in this sport for ages, and me and Jeff were talking behind the scenes. It's very rarely you see a shutout in indoor/arena football. You accidentally score points in the indoor game. 25-0 is very impressive. And watching the game, your defense capitalized. You forced turnovers. You got them in long situations where they were forced to pass. But Offensive Player of the Week, Marcus Brooks, the QB1 of Columbus, made the right plays, made the right decisions. Columbus, honestly, I was telling this to Jeff over the weekend, is that Columbus's offense didn't really show a lot what they can be, because when they have a defense like you were on this past weekend, you can shut down any. You don't need it. You don't need to show everything. That must help. A good offense. They say defense wins championship. Offense gets you to the game, but that's an impressive outlook. The offense carried their way too, same as you guys, and even though the score, I know everyone wants 30 or 40, 50 points, but still a shutout's a shutout, and that's very impressive in the indoor game.
I felt like that we could have put up more points. We left points out there. Like when we got turnovers on defense, it was a flag against us every time. So we left like 4 turnovers out there, and we look at it like, okay, we get 4 turnovers. Out of the 4 of them turnovers, 2 of them gonna be touchdown. So we felt like we left points out there. We probably could have put up 50 points if we wanted to, but long we won, long we came out injury free. That was the main thing. So we left points out there though.
Oh, yeah, Jeff. I know you want to add something to this conversation.
Absolutely. So you have that big game, this past week. Let's talk about the matchup coming up. Your return to Greensboro. What's that going to be like for you?
To be honest though, it's just gonna be another game to me, just in the Greensboro Coliseum. You know what I'm saying? I'm like same thing when I left Jacksonville and I went back down there and played in Jacksonville. It was just another game. Fans showed me respect, and I got a lot of fans that been hitting me up. They're ready to meet me and everything, but they know I'm gonna be locked into the game. And we can joke and laugh and all that right there. But before then, I'm locked in, and I'm gonna speak to them. I'm gonna speak to them. But after the game, they can get more talked up out of me then, though.
Well, speaking of Columbus, now you look back at the time that you wore the silver and black. Now you're going back to Greensboro. You've had a lot of players. You've had some good teams when you played there in Carolina. But also, one thing a lot of players people don't understand is that there's relationships that are built with the fans, especially in Greensboro. What are you looking forward to going back to Greensboro, especially going back to the fans who welcomed you to their homes a couple years ago?
The crazy thing about this is that my college recruiting coach that coached me in college stay in Greensboro. And when I was up there the 2 years, he came to every home game he can make it to. So, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, we talked last night, we texted and everything. And he ready to meet me. Well, ready to see me again because, he ain't seen me since a whole year and everything. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Littletons up there. They came down to this game this weekend when we played against Carolina in Columbus. They came down, and after the game, they came and played with my son after the game because when he was a baby, they sent like clothes to Tilton, Georgia, to my son and everything. So that's one of the biggest fans that I'm ready to meet again because they show love to me outside of football.
How big is that? Especially you've been in Jacksonville, Carolina, now Columbus. How big is the fans' influence of just a player like you, your time in the indoor arena game?
It's a big plus because a lot of these fans you become friendship with them outside of sports. Like I might retire, I'm gonna retire after this season, and they still gonna be my friend for like 3 years later, 4 years later, and like they might be traveling to South Georgia, and something might happen, and they know they can call me because I'm close by. So me playing in front of a lot of these fans, I felt like it's a family. And because, like I said, outside of football, they still be talking to me, reaching out to me, staying in touch with me, checking on my family, checking on my kids. You know what I'm saying? When they don't have to do that. But, that's the most thing I respect about a lot of these fans that I played in front of.
And that's the thing about this sport that I really, really appreciates the fans. And of course, your good friend is chiming in, Bob Book.
Go Ravens.
But you've played a good career. Now you're in Columbus. You're 2-0. You got a big win over Peach State to start off. Then you answer that with a big win over Carolina. What is the focus? I know usually it's hard to measure a team based on film when you don't see what they have. But now that they have film on you and you have film on them, how is the game plan for the second matchup in Greensboro going to change, especially this Friday night in Greensboro?
So we know when we played them this last Friday, they had a total of 100-yard or less than 100-yard offense, and they had like 45-yard passing and like with 2 different quarterbacks. So we already know that they probably bringing some more players, change a couple things, try to do different plays. So at our practice this week, we working on what if they do this? How can we counter to that? So I think it's the difference is like we still gonna dominate. We still gonna do what we do because I got dogs on my team. My secondary, they probably the best secondary in the world, not in the league, but in the world. Because one thing about it, they're gonna cover and they're gonna come down and hit you in the mile. My D linemen, I love them boys. You know what I'm saying? They go hard. They love each other. They lean on each other. And right now, I think St. Brown is the MVP right now defense. Because, like I said, he get off, he a dog, he do
Hmm.
everything that a defense do. And on the back end, I like Trail, number one, great communication, get the line up right, and he gonna come down and hit you. So we got like a lot of great players on our team: Draco, Gray, Ben, Ken Washington, our nose guard. We call him Boss Man D-Lo. You know what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
he in the middle and he go hard and everything. Also, my I don't say my backup because both of us can play. If I'm in the game, I'm gonna make a play. If he in the game, we make a play. So my co-partner Ware that play linebacker with me too. You know what I'm saying? He a dog too. I love that guy. We talk to each other when he on the field. He tell me what's going on when he come off, and I tell him what's going on. So our defense, we a family. We want to.
And I know you said family, but there's a certain individual on your team that secret very quietly is having a dang good season. And that's Draco.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I love Drake. I love Drake. He's a great guy. When I first met him, he really didn't know who I was, everything, who he was. But now he opened up to me. He a funny guy. But when it's time to play ball, he locked in. Locked in.
And it looks like one of the managing partners of the of the.
Right on, man. So the coming. I want to give y'all a shout out to my owners and my coaches and everything. I love these guys. You know what I'm saying? They put a great roster together. You know what I'm saying? Like, our head coach, man, y'all everybody know that's a Nighthawk. You know what I'm saying? Best arena DB that ever played. Got the most interception in the world. But you know what I'm saying? They put together a great team. And, coach, I love them coaches.
Well, there's also another individual on the team that's been around the block that has. I don't know. He played. I think he played with you and Jax as well, but it seems like he just stays in Columbus, and that's Jermon Fortson.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my right hand man.
uh,
He's a dog. Like I don't care how old he get, man. He still play at a high level. You know what I'm saying? We got something that we call each other Georgia Power. You know what I'm saying? That's something we call each other since Jacksonville days. Like Georgia Power is like a light bill company down here in Georgia. And if you don't pay your bill, they're gonna cut your lights off. So we tell each other Georgia Power, so we know that we can't be playing around at practice call. If you're not doing your job, you're gonna get cut from the team. So that's something that we got going with each other since he played offense and I played defense. But holler out Georgia Power, you know what that means. So yeah.
well, ZB, I really appreciate you coming on today, and I know you have it could be a little bit of a mix of emotions, and not putting that onto you, 'cause especially in Columbus, going back to Carolina. 2-0. You got what 8 more games rest of the season. Got good competition coming up, especially with the Cobras. But I don't know. 2-0 sounds pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah, right now early in the season though, we just taking it one game at a time, 1 week at a time, you know what I'm saying, one day at a time. Our main goal is to win every week, you know what I'm saying? If we win by 1 point, it don't matter, we won that week. So at the end of the day, we trying to win, host the championship down here in Columbus, and we trying to we got goals, like Columbus don't been to 2 NAL championship, but they don't lost it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They know how to get to the big dance. And they never three-peated. So that's one of our goals we trying to do. We trying to three-peat. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we don't look at as in like we haven't lost in 2022. They don't look at that sign. They don't even talk about that, like going undefeated. They just come to practice and work. So I didn't even know that the last time that they lost was to Carolina until last week. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? I was on the Carolina team when we played against them. But I love these boys down here. I love the whole organization. You know what I'm saying? That blue look good on me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited about this year.
Well, Blue should look good, especially to Georgia, and it's just right down the street where you're from. Tifton and Columbus are not that far from each other.
Just on a 2 hour flat, 2 hours away.
And I guarantee it's easy for your family to come visit too, compared to your other locations that you
Yeah.
played at.
It was a year. It's been a year since my family played. They didn't get to see me play last year. So they came to my game Friday night and yeah.
Well, ZB, I really appreciate you joining. Stay healthy, enjoy your time, because one thing about football, you got to be blessed every day. If God gives you that next day to play, you better take and cherish it because you don't know when that time comes to an end. I've seen a lot of players say, "Oh, I'll be next week," and you never see them play ever again. So, ZB, you're a friend of our show. I followed your whole career, so stay healthy. Good luck this week, and maybe you might jump on later in the year again if things go right, especially if Columbus stays what they're doing right now. It's a good chance you'll be back on the program.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I love this show. I watch it even when I ain't on it. You know what I'm saying? Like to support y'all like y'all support us. You know what I'm saying? I feel like more players should do that. You know what I'm saying? Support y'all because y'all trying to put us on a big platform so people can see us and see who we is behind outside of football.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate it.
No problem, ZB. But ladies and gentlemen, when we come back after this short break, we'll break down Willing and Shreveport and preview Week 4 of the National Arena League right after this. Well, today the National Arena League announced the players of the week, and we got some good athletes up here, especially loaded with Columbus Lions Offensive Player of the Week, quarterback Marcus Brooks, Defensive Player of the Week, D. Brown, Special Teams Player, kick return from the Carolina Cobras, Damian Stokes. That is your Week 3 Players of the Week. Jeff, how are we doing, my friend? Doing good?
Good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, we got to break down the game that happened in Shreveport, where the Ruberu held on to win their first game in the National Arena League 2013 over the Wheeling Miners, and they improved to 1-1 on this season. Big win for the Shreveport Ruberu. And also, of course, when we look at the Wheeling situation, a lot of questions will raise from some type of games like this. But for the Wheeling faithful, I think you got the two right guys who can talk about what happened to Wheeling, but we also will share our opinions about Shreveport. Uh, Honestly, I'm going to just say about that game is that Shreveport made the plays when they needed to at the end to win the game. It was close at the end. Wheeling had the chance at the very end to cause chaos, almost did. But Shreveport made enough plays to hold on to the game. And speaking of on the Wheeling side of things, Jeff.
Yeah, I think it was a really good game back and forth. It was low scoring. Defenses really showed up. Coach Rez looked extremely loose. He was able to call the defense this week. So somebody that you haven't seen in the defensive coordinator spot in a while, he was able to let loose and have some fun there on the defense. But unfortunately, Grant Russell was out with a injury, so he was out. So they were trying to figure out the quarterback duties. JT Taylor came in, and his first professional experience in the game, played very well. Did really good with his opportunities. Did really well on his feet, and then threw a couple touchdowns. So, and almost threw a game tying touchdown there at the end. Unfortunately, it fell short. But both teams really learning, trying to feel out the league and things of that nature. So Wheeling's still trying to adjust to the NAL and different things of that. And Shreveport really doing the same. They're running into their own quarterback problems as well, trying to figure out who their starters are going to be going forward as well.
And one thing, when you look at Shreveport, people think, who are the main culprits of the team, and how did that team execute? When you see a game that's 20-13, like we mentioned previous with Carolina and Columbus,
mm-hmm.
you can 20-13 is a defensive game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
Yeah,
and both teams, Willing's defense again kept Willing in the game long enough for Willing to make somewhat of a comeback. There were some times in that game where you thought, okay, Willing's going to figure it out and they're going to start moving the ball, but Shreveport just found ways to get it done. And how they got it done was not through the air. They ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When you have Daenerys Antoine running for about 37 yards and Samuels with 44, you're keeping the ball on the ground and you're running the clock. when you have a struggling offense that's trying to find themselves, like Willing was this past game, the best thing you can do to counter it is just hold on to the ball so they don't get a chance to work out their kinks. But both sides, I'm not saying that Shreveport did a good game plan or Willing did a good game plan. We can both agree it was an ugly game.
Yeah.
Defensive games are usually ugly games. No one
Yeah,
likes
they're going to be that
games.
way. Mm-hmm.
And both sides made boneheaded mistakes, boneheaded penalties. Both sides were shooting themselves in the foot, trying to gain traction in the game. And it just came down to who made the fewest mistakes in the game. Shreveport did just a little bit more that caused that. Well, again, Willing lost because they made an extra mistake or two that cost the game. But 20 to 13, at one point in this game, it looked like if I don't know, that Hail Mary almost looked pretty good at one point. That's how close it was
Yeah.
to being a tie ball game. Not tie, well, extra point would have had it be kicked. But knowing Coach Rez, he would be the type of dude to just go for the 2-point conversion if that was caught because you get the momentum. But we wouldn't know because we don't know because we never got to that point. But as a person who's watched the game, it was a very ugly game overall. It's just Shreveport made fewer mistakes than Willing did against in that game.
Yeah, and one thing is, Wheeling has the opportunity. They're on a bye week this week. They have a opportunity to sit at home. Shreveport has to go Omaha, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to go to Omaha. So I mean, that's one of those things that Shreveport can continue to have a good run game. Exactly, Casey. Like a really good run game. Their schemes really well to do what they need to do.
And they got a mobile quarterback that fits that scheme.
Yes, absolutely, and that's one of the things that you have to have in this league is a dual threat quarterback. But yeah, Wheeling gets the bye week this week, and then next week they get to go back into Carolina again. So the following week, so we'll talk about that when we get there. But I think the bye week came at a good time for the Miners. I feel like it's a good reset, figure some things out, and then go into a good week of practice next week and try to figure it out.
Well, before we move on to preview this upcoming week, there are a couple of players that you can say there were honorable mentions on defense to win awards this week. And anytime when a defensive lineman has 8 tackles and an interception, he should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year or Defensive Player of the Game. Excuse me. That was Brandon Munoz. That's why he had 8 tackles and an interception. That interception that he did, he read it and got in the way over by the boards. It was a perfect just FYI,
he read the pitch. He read the pitch. Yeah.
He was good at that in his previous location last year. He was reading that indoor quarterback pitch, read it, picked it off. But also Stewart had, I think, 12 tackles if the stats are correct, around 12 tackles. That's still pretty impressive for a D lineman. It just tells you how defensive. Honestly, that tells you how close Willing is on defense. They just need 1 or 2 offensive plays, and you're talking about a different team in Willing right now.
Well, I'm going to say this about the entire league. The defensive line play this year is unbelievable. I mean, you have Sam Hammond in Colorado. Like, it's unbelievable. I mean, and you have the front that Omaha has. I mean, the defensive line play is really, really good. That's why we're seeing these defensive battles this year. Defense is taking center stage in just about every game.
Yeah. Defense, like we said, wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're only in week 3, entering week 4 of the National Arena League season, defense does win champions. But ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make this personal announcement. Me and Jeff and Matt went up to Willing this couple of weeks ago. They did NAL game day. And all the events we did, we stole through the wire, a takeover kind of thing, make it like a WCW versus WWE. And all the shows we've had up to leading in the month of March. Record breaking for this show, for what we've done. We have surpassed 10,000 total views. This includes downloads. Viewership duration of our shows is up at 19 minutes and 47 seconds. Thank you. That's absolutely amazing for your support, who watches our shows. And as a person who does this for a hobby, it's you, the National Arena League, for doing this, especially the fans who come to us to look for information in the National Arena League. your teams, our opportunities to interview players. This is not about us. It's not about us going on Twitter and making interesting comments. I think that we're above somebody. Our job here is to really promote the sport, promote the league, and I
And the
really
players.
appreciate and the players. And I appreciate all you guys who tune in every single week. And being one of the most highly streamed indoor/arena football podcasts in the industry, and I really appreciate it. Here, join us every week, and that's with you guys. And also, by the way, hashtag free tickets in the chat right now. We're extended it one more week because we only have 47. I don't think we can get some more. We might add some more incentives into the ticket giveaway. Hashtag get your tickets. Basically, put it in there. Let's do it. So we can make the announcement on Facebook Live on Friday before the Carolina Cobras games. We'll do it on live to give tickets away to you, the fans of your favorite NAL team. 2 tickets. Hashtag ticket giveaway in the chat. Spam it. I don't care. There's not multiple entries. Once your name gets in there once, that's it. We can't just give it to Brad 75,000 times. I'm just saying. appreciate it, Brad, for joining on today's episode. Okay, so again, for the people who just joined, here are the standings of the National Arena League. The American Division, Columbus is on top at 1-2-0, 1-0 in division play. Beaumont is number 2 at 1-0 right there. Then you got the 2 teams at 500 with the Shreveport Ruberu and the Carolina Cobras, where the tiebreaker is the division record for the Shreveport Ruberu, and upward the Willing Miners at 0-3, 0-2, 0-3 and 0-2 in division play. So a lot of football to be played. And of course, if the postseason started today, Beaumont travels to Columbus, Sioux travels to Omaha for the National Arena League playoffs if everything started today. Also, including the podcast, remember to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast Addict, and if you just scan the QR code, you can send you right to a lovely Spreaker site to get the updated podcast if you can't hear us live here on all social media platforms. So, Jeff Fuffa, I need to stop doing that, or we'll get copyrighted by actual Jeff Dunham because we're speaking this segment. We can't really do that. Let's continue on the conversation. So let's talk about week. We had ZB on. How do the Carolina Cobras respond this week against the Columbus Lions?
I think they need to set the tone. I mean, and get back to what they do best, and that's having a good run game with Tyvis Taylor. I think that's a good setup. And then breaking news, if you haven't seen it yet, Coach Negron has thrown his hat back into the coaching ring. So they didn't say at what capacity he would be coaching, but he did say he's Coach Boner still the head coach. So it's hard to say where he's gonna lie on what side of the ball or anything like that. But that's a big shot in the arm for Carolina to get last year's Coach of the Year back on your coaching staff in that capacity. So they're at home. It's going to be a big weekend for them, and they definitely want to get a get back this week for the Cobras.
A get back, like I mentioned earlier in the show, you accidentally run into points in the indoor arena game. Being shut out is it's harder to be shut out than it is scoring points. Negron coming back into the fold, I have a feeling the offense of Carolina to be more focused, more upbeat, because now it's in the snake pit from their own fans. So you're going to see a more, not really energized, you're going to see a more focused organization. Like, hey, that performance we just had in the Columbus Civic Center this past weekend, can't cut it. I see in this, give the ball to Tobias and let him eat the whole entire game. I don't care if it's 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, 4th and 75. Just give him the ball. Find a way to keep him in the game. That will open up Vincent's passing abilities for crossing routes. One thing I noticed against Columbus, they weren't executing on those short routes. They ran the ball, got stopped. Ran the ball, got stopped, and they were throwing it deep. It becomes predictable. Establish the run game. Do a lot more jet sweeps, and trying to get the linebackers for Columbus, ZB or Ware, to bite on the run so you can do some play action and hit the mid-range slants down the middle so you can open up the game playbook a little bit more. But one thing I noticed about Columbus and how they did this game compared to the past, they found a way to shut down a mobile quarterback. Can they translate that same game plan this week in Carolina to contain Vincent? One thing we know about Vincent, and we saw it against Willian a couple of weeks ago, he is dangerous when he is running. When
Yeah.
he is mobile, things open up. Columbus shut that down last week. Can it translate? Can you translate that same game plan over? You got to mix some things because Carolina will counter it. So that's the thing about the sport. Chess, checkers. Who's playing chess? Who's playing checkers in this game? If they can translate that over, Columbus could get a big win, and all of a sudden, oh no, they're 3-0 and they're 2-0 in the division, and they're top of the conference with 6 games, 7 games left on their schedule. That benefits them, and it puts Carolina in it. This is a big game for Carolina, but the question is, can Columbus translate that game plan from last week to this week? Because it worked last week, but can it work this week?
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, it's hard enough to beat a team twice, but now you have an opportunity to do it in back-to-back weeks. So that's going to be even harder. So I mean, it's going to be one of those things that they're going to have to set up and do. And ZB mentioned they're not anticipating, expecting Carolina to do the same thing. So they're different situations and things like that. So we'll see how the game will go on Friday night.
Things go as they go. But on Saturday, there's big action in the National Arena League. Like in this show, I know we've had comments before in the past. Why you guys not making straight up predictions this year compared to last year? We just want to get the overall what we believe a game can happen. We don't want to be the ones like, well, Jim told you this, Jeff told us this, Matt told us this. This is the reason, like, staged or rigged. How the NFL fans are. They think that we're not going to be associated. We just want to talk about the whole game and let you, the fans, decide who wins and who loses. We don't want to be associated with pick. We may do banter behind the scenes, but we're not going to put forth that effort. And also, we've had a question on our social media platform this past week. When's the next power rankings coming out? They'll be coming out after week 4. So we got one coming up in week 4, so that'll be the updated one. Some interesting moves. I think there could be we know there is going to be a new number 1 team, but the question is who is it? Is it the Beef? Is it Columbus? Is it Sioux City? We don't know. But speaking about the Beef, did the Beef roll or the Horsemen strike back when the Horsemen traveled to the Omaha Beef, the slaughterhouse in Ralston Arena on Saturday night, 6:30 kickoff Central Time?
Hey, listen, the Omaha has done a heck of a job after picking up the pieces after that preseason game. They've looked like the Omaha Beef of old. Lorenzo Brown has found the fountain of youth. I wish he would share it and let everybody else know where it's at, because he's still mobile as he's always been, and he's able to throw the ball downfield and stretch the passing game down. That's still a dangerous team. Idaho looking to improve like they have been, and that would be a huge signature win if they can pull it out this weekend. So that's something that they're looking forward to, and with the Horsemen.
Well, if you look at the Omaha Beef, there are 2 individuals that I think, if they are cooking, it's issues for the Idaho Horsemen, and that is Jeff Mack and Brown. Reason why I say Brown is because one thing about a guy like his status, people may say he is one of the greatest indoor quarterbacks to ever play the game. Week 1, we watched that game. We're like, it looks like he missed a step. He bounced back the next game, and he looked like the LB of old. You look at this game, and you look at Idaho, how they played against Sioux City. Sioux City looked like they just had everything going from special teams, defense, and offense. They completely dominated the Horsemen, and they had a guy who just got thrown in there, and the offense looked perfectly perfect. The question is this: do we see a kind of a repeat of what happened in Sioux City, or does Idaho have enough horses, no pun intended, to, you know, get into the race and make this a competitive game because they got some dudes over there.
Mm-hmm.
Giovanni Sanders, they got Flanders, they got weapons over there. They got dudes. Do they bounce back or do they find a way to make this game in Omaha competitive enough where we're seeing Saturday night a game that comes down to the wire?
I mean, if there's a statement game to be had, it would be this one. This would be a huge statement win for the Horsemen
Mhm.
to put out, we're no longer an improving team. We're a team to be messed with. So, I mean, that could be on one thing. But, I mean, if you're Omaha, the target on your back continues week in and week out. You are the defending champions, regardless of a preseason game or not. You are still the target of the NAL. So I mean, week in and week out, you're getting everybody's best.
Okay. And also another guy to watch out for the Omaha Beef is Troy Evans Jr. He shined earlier in the season. He shined. Uh, actually, he was almost, you could say he was like the star against Colorado almost. If
Yeah,
you say a couple things. He's a weapon. And when you look at Idaho, one thing I notice about the Horsemen is you look at their roster and you see what happened in Sioux City. Lost 46-14 in Tyson Vent Center in the Sioux City a couple weeks ago. And you look at the weapons they have, you know, when you have a receiver that has 4 receptions for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Tyler Hinton, you have guys. That means defenses are focusing on the wrong player. Now you have Sanders in there. You have a week off. You almost had like a mini training camp after your first game. You had that by a week. I just can't see Idaho continuing that same. I just don't see it. If you have that type of performance again against especially Omaha, there's a lot of situations that, as a person who covers the game, there has to be something to fix. But when you have a receiver that had, I think, 84, 85, someone can correct me with the stats, with Tyler Hinson, I know they have talent there. And I know they have talent that can be explosive. And when you have Flanders and you have Henson, and I forgot I think it's Caleb, I think it's their other receiver's name. I may be wrong. I got to go do my research. I do apologize if I'm getting it wrong. But Giovanni had extra time because he came in right before the game with Sioux City. Now he's had that week and a half to get prepared with that receiving corps. I think they need to step up. I think Idaho has a secretly good offense. It's just they went through a buzzsaw in Sioux City.
yeah,
Sioux City had the wake-up call against Belmont and just completely responded and annihilated Idaho. Happens. Sport's weird like that sometimes. But I look at the performance of what they did against Sioux City, and I see aspects that, and if they can fix things, now you got Giovanni coming in and having an extra week of preparation, they could be deadly. But do I see them pulling off the upset in Omaha? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they have the potential to cause issues because we've seen what Omaha did against Shreveport. Is, like we mentioned last week, are the Beef back? I think a good statement win
mm-hmm.
this week over Idaho might actually put that type of statement in about they are back. They're still, like you mentioned, still the champions of the league. What's the saying go? Come at the king, you better not miss. They're undefeated, and
Yeah,
Idaho comes into town, and oh ho hum, they win. They're 3-0 again, and they're 2-0 in division play, and they're back in the top of the division, where they currently are right now in the standings. That just solidifies their position to get that pivotal home game for the National Division Championship game for the postseason. That's crucial.
yeah. And I mean, and let's go right into the other big matchup, the final big matchup of the weekend with Colorado and Sioux City.
Mm-hmm.
What a game! That has a likelihood to be, game of the weekend.
Yeah.
Both teams have a lot to prove. Colorado, after the loss to Omaha, really, wants to get back after.
Yeah, we did have a banner, but the banner was do Spartans respond and or does Sioux City make a statement to say that they are one of the top 2 teams in the National Division? It's going to be a good game. The question is, will it be Tyler or will it be Verlon? What's going on? Is there? We didn't know what they. On the announcement, they said that Verlon was dealing with some issues, and this was a last minute switch, but Tyler looked perfectly fine in the champion in that game. Do they still have that issue there? But I'm going to just tell you right now, Sioux City, whoever you have at quarterback, it seems historically your offense doesn't change. It still runs like a humming machine. But for Colorado, after the performance in week 1 in Wheeling, then you go to Omaha and you had that performance. A bounce back? One thing we talked to Coach Shaw. I've talked to Coach Shaw many times. I know him. You look at those dudes on that team. Newbold, Aiken, they got studs. And they got an old guy, Gregory Jr. You got to mention him too. They have talent.
He had a heck of a catch over the wall. I mean, that was ridiculous. Like, that was.
Those are the type of catches where you catch the ball and play, end up in the stands. You're like, did I pay for this ticket? How did I get here? Like, you forget that you're actually playing in the game.
Yeah.
I look at this game and I can literally see I think this is the game of the week on Spain. I think this is the game of the week. I think
it's set up to be that way.
I think this is a potential. It's way too early to say this, but it's building up to be a potential play-in game. One of these teams, in my opinion, can get it. This could be a determining factor where we get towards the end of the season. That week 4 matchup in Sioux City was the pivotal matchup to get that team, whoever that either Colorado or Sioux City into the postseason. For some odd reason, I think if I'm Sioux City, don't go in this game cocky.
No, absolutely not.
If you do, Colorado, I think that offensive line, that Aiken, when he is running downhill as a running quarterback, it is hard to stop. They can literally run the Philly all day, or Philly push all day and score. I just look at this game and I go, if I'm a Sioux City fan, you have that feeling in your gut. You're like, this doesn't feel right. I think this is that type of game.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hammond, my goodness. Be on the lookout for him, number 10 for Colorado. Just an unbelievable talent down there. Mainly plays nose, but can move around. And he's a game wrecker. Like, he's one of those guys that you have to game plan for.
Yeah. And, well, it's not just, well, when you look at this league, I can name 6 guys at the top of my head that should be playing in either Canada or in the UFL. That's how good they are, how talented they are. And Colorado has a couple of those guys. Like, Coach Shaw brought in dudes this year to not make the playoffs. He brought dudes in to win the whole dang thing. That's how he built his team this year. And the week 1 match that we saw live, yeah, we can both say that we kind of underestimated Colorado, but even though they lost last week, a couple weeks ago, to Omaha, I don't think they changed. I look at this game against Sioux City, I go, if I'm a betting man, I look at that Colorado team, I go, I can't see them losing 2 in a row because of how the team is built.
Right.
But Sioux City also has a dang good team. You got Braska, you got Fred Bruno, you got Verlon. They have as well a stacked team. Like, if I'm Sioux City, I'm confident that they win, but I still have that gut, that feeling in my gut, like something doesn't feel right about this game. And I think it's going to be the game of the week. I think it's going to be exciting.
I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last, and somebody's going to have to steal a possession at some point in time. Like, you're going to have to steal a possession and score.
Out of the 3 games this weekend, I think this one's going to be the most high-scoring one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think both teams get in the 40s. I think it's going to be that type of game.
Your typical, like, 46-40, 46-42 type deal.
And I think the defensive game is going to be, again, in Greensboro between Columbus and Carolina. I think you're going to see – I see a lot of adjustments in that game by both sides. But I still think that's going to be a close game. And I think Idaho and Omaha is that nothing to see here, but could be that game like, oh my God, did I just watch that type of that game has that type of scenario as well. But I think Omaha had that little wake-up call. And I think they've been more focused ever since then. And now this weekend, there are 3 good games. Remember, action starts Friday night.
Yep.
in Greensboro, caps off in Sioux City with Colorado and Sioux City on Saturday night. We got a double feature on Saturday. Also, remember this week on Right Now TV, get to watch the Columbus Lions and the Carolina Cobras again on Right Now TV. I think the game is currently being aired right now on Right Now TV, if I am correct. It is 10 o'clock on the East Coast. So, yes, the game is being aired currently on Right Now TV. So, check out if you want to catch a dynamic and dominant defense performance by the Columbus Lions as they pulled off a big-time win this past weekend against former arch rivals of the National Arena League, the Carolina Cobras, 25-0 in the Columbus Civic Center. Rematches in Greensboro. Get your tickets now. First Horizon Center, give the call. And if your fans on the travel trying to get to Greensboro, here's a hint. Call the actual Carolina Cobras if you're going to Greensboro. Get a better deal. Save you some cash. Go get the tickets through the organizations to help everyone out. And also, we got to recap the past score. Denarius Antoine being the beast as the Shreveport Rougarou pull off the win over the Willie Miners 20-13 in Week 3 action of the National Arena League. And also to recap the players of the week in the National Arena League. Offensive player, Marcus Brooks, quarterback for the Columbus Lions. Defensive player of the week, D. Brown with the Columbus Lions and special teams. Kick returner, Damon Stokes of the Carolina Cobras. And also, hashtag ticket giveaway. We'll be doing the Drawing Friday live on Facebook Live. Hashtag ticket giveaway in the chat. Get 2 tickets to any NAL game of your choosing. Drawing is this Friday live on Inside the Walls podcast. Facebook Live, not actual episode. But remember, follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Apple, and all your podcast platforms. Click the QR code to get right to your favorite platform itself. Woo! Good episode, Jeff.
Absolutely.
See, we don't need Matt.
Yeah, we do. We need a couple cowbell questions.
Do we need to put the finger and we need to do that? We need We
I
forgot
tell you
to
what,
that's because we forgot to ask EV about the cowbells.
Yeah, wow. See, and I'm glad we had a show this week because Through the Wire is on a bye, and I haven't had a home game in a while, so I'm getting a little rusty because I haven't been able to call a game in a couple weeks. So I'm glad that we had an episode.
Episode it is. Also, ladies and gentlemen, remember, follow everything in the National Arena League from transactions to news and updates to articles of your favorite teams at nationalarenaleague.com. Also, all of our games are aired on YouTube live, and then they're rebroadcast. Well, some games are rebroadcast on Right Now TV. And also, if you didn't tune into the National Arena League game day of Week 1, Commissioner Brandon Eichert announced a sponsorship for the NAL championship game. Hard AF Seltzer. So hard that it's 8%. So you take a sip, it's knocking you out. That's literally like an advertisement on their can. That's what it says. Have I tried it? Not yet. May I partake? Probably. But we got a sponsor for the championship game itself. Any more news and notes?
I think we're good. I think we covered everything. We mentioned earlier on news out of Carolina, which we haven't, heard anything else of right yet. So stick to the Carolina Cobras, to their social medias, and then also to Inside the Walls podcast social media as well, and National Arena League social media to get all your news.
Yeah. All your NAL football, by the way. At NAL football for all social media, from Twitter to Instagram. Crap, I don't know. They might have a TikTok. I have no idea.
I don't think so.
So, if it is, it's not the real NAL. And if they are, let us know. But I highly doubt there one exists. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, remember, NAL action kicks off Friday night in Greensboro, where the Carolina Cobras host the Columbus Lions, and it caps off in the Tyson Event Center on Saturday with the Colorado Spartans traveling to the Sioux City Bandits in a pivotal national division game. It's the National Arena League, and it's Week 4. In the blink of an eye, we'll be talking about some crucial games. We asked questions earlier. How does Carolina respond? Is it beef? Do the beef roll, or do the horsemen strike back? Do the Spartans hold on and respond, or does Sioux City claim their spot as the top of the National Division? All those questions will be answered this weekend in the National Arena League. That is Jeff. I am Jim. Thank you for the support for the month of March. It's been incredible, record-breaking for the show, and all of our other things are associated with. Again, much love and respect to all of you out there. Sit back and relax. Enjoy the broadcast of this weekend's games. And remember, without you, we don't exist. And without you, the fans, our teams don't exist. So go out there, support these organizations, buy tickets now. Call the organizations, get your tickets. Week 4 of the National Arena League kicks off Friday night. Be safe, be well. We'll see you next week.